It is 7:30, so we will begin. Call this meeting to order. First item is determine if we have a quorum. We have a quorum. Next item on the agenda is an approval of the agenda.
I move that we approve the agenda.
I second.
Okay, it's been motioned and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed to that? Right, the third item on the agenda, we are going to interview we have three candidates for the vacant Zone 2 seat. And so how we are going to do this is we'll have all three applicants come up here into these chairs. And we have questions that we will just, we'll start with either end. We'll just go down, ask one question to each candidate, and that candidate will have an opportunity, each candidate will have an opportunity to respond to that one question that is asked. Question 2 will be asked by the next trustee, and we'll start with the second applicant. This might get confusing. We'll start with the second applicant, and we'll go through each applicant to answer the question and so on and so forth. So, and Chrissy will keep us on track, make sure we're doing this right. The whole idea is that this process is open, it's public, and it's fair. And each of the applicants will get an opportunity to respond to each of the questions that we ask. So I would ask the trustees also, don't throw any zingers in there, okay? We want to make sure that it's fair. And if you throw a zinger in there, everybody gets an opportunity to answer the zinger, okay? And let's try to not have a back and forth. Trustees can ask a clarifying question if you don't understand a response or want a little bit more, but we won't have a dialogue back and forth. Let's just let them respond. At the end of that, the goal tonight is to select a candidate to fill the vacancy on the board. So I have some ballots here, and at the end of the interview process, we can discuss. We'll have that discussion. I will give you a ballot. It's a secret ballot. You just sign your name on that ballot. Ms. Lamont will gather those, and we'll see who our new trustee is.
They're not going to have any community comments tonight.
No.
So I motion to wait till the 14th to let the public talk and comment on viewing this today and then vote on the 14th. So we can think on what we've heard them say and let the community hear and make comment.
Okay.
I would like to not vote for the candidate.
You just want to do the interview process?
Do the
and no
interview
selection
process,
tonight?
no selection tonight, and on the 14th select and let public comment on the 14th before we vote.
Any discussion?
I'm going to second it so we can discuss it. Because I do. Sorry.
I hate to do this because we're on the discussion and information item only.
Oh.
Because it has to be indicated on the agenda
Thank
to
you.
take action.
You're right. Yes.
I think once we do the interviews, you guys can have that motion and second on the table, but until then we have to wait because it's not an action item.
So you're talking about number 4
Yes.
agenda item. At that point,
Yes.
then the motion would be appropriate for.
Sorry, I thought you were telling us how to do this.
No, I'm just saying that's how the process is. That's what we are going to do tonight. Now, if we need to change that, then we can have that discussion. Okay.
Perfect.
Okay, so.
Can I just clarify
Yeah.
something on the agenda? That it maybe would have been at step 2 at the approval of the agenda,
If we wanted to.
if we wanted to add something like that, or just to rearrange the order of
Yes.
possibly those things. So I'm just bringing it up. So for future knowledge, thank you.
Absolutely. That makes perfect sense.
Thank you.
So at this time, if we could have the 3 applicants come and take your seats, take a seat, doesn't matter what order, alphabetical, you can, doesn't matter, draw straws. So if we take notes for ourselves, Mandy, I'll direct this question to you. or Chrissy, those notes that we take, are they public record for? Yeah, I just want to make sure that, so keep that in mind. Okay, so we'll start with Trustee Simpson. If you just want to start whatever candidate you start with, and then we'll just go from there. The first question.
Thank you. Thank you, all three of you for,
Pardon me, I am so sorry.
Yeah.
I did forget. I wanted to make sure that we give them an opportunity to introduce themselves. to
oh,
the
yes,
public.
let's do that,
I
please.
apologize.
Yes, sorry. Thank
I
you.
just want to make sure that we give you guys an opportunity to introduce yourself and just a quick little 1 sentence, 30-second elevator speech summation as to what you're all about. So we'll start with here with Mr. Valier.
Thank you. I am more than 30 seconds. So. My name is Marco Valle. I was born in Peru, South America. I was raised in Idaho, Eagle, Idaho, and then I moved to Nampa. Anyways, I've been here for a while. I've got kids out here in Nampa, and I love my town. And it's growing too quick, so I'm a little bit worried. And that's why I'm here.
Okay. Is that mic on? Is there a switch on that mic?
It's on.
Okay.
My name's Lonnie Dawson. I'm been here a year and a half. I retired after 30 years in the shipyard. I have a daughter and a grandson, or a daughter and a son-in-law with 2 grandsons that live here in the community. We've been back and forth for the last 8 years. So I'm familiar with the community, and my grandsons are 2 and 4. So I'm planning on getting involved, whether the selection is made or not, because I love these little guys. But so, you know, I have a house, I'm living here, I'm paying taxes in the community. I believe in what Napa's doing. I like to be a part of what the community is about. I think I can be of some help. I've had previous board experience, so I'm kind of familiar with this, but you guys do it a little bit different than what we did in Washington, but I can tell you that we went through some of the same struggles that you guys are going through.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Aaron Callis. I have lived in Nampa since 2018. Grew up in northern Utah. Spent a good amount of time in Alaska teaching and earning my administrative credentials up there, and before settling here, and finally feel like we're at home. Nampa definitely fits the values that my family has, and we almost feel like we've lived here our whole life. So it's time to raise the hand and get involved and give back. So that's why I'm here.
Okay, thank you.
I think you just hold on to
Okay,
it.
all right, I'll be the first.
Please.
yeah, I'm happy to start wherever.
Sure,
So,
yeah.
Aaron, thank you. Why are school boards necessary?
Well, oversight, for sure. Number one function. It's the community's input. It's really that check and balance. It's we talk about the will of the community, the will of the people. Well, this isn't. This is where the vision is made. This is where the guardrails in which we operate as a school district generate. And this is where we select the administration that carries out and executes that vision. So school boards are pivotal. They are super important, and we need to make sure that we function cooperatively. We can have disagreements. We can have those civil exchanges, but at the end of the day, it's that student in that classroom that is going to reap the benefits of what school boards do. So in a nutshell, that's what the function is.
I think school boards are a liaison between the community and administration. So programs that are adopted, budgets that are adopted, how we move through the community. The board's responsibility is to relay and be that voice for the community, for whatever zone it is that you're a part of. That's the main vision, I think, for what school boards are supposed to do. Now, there's 100 other little things that, you know, you take care of. Being a part of the budget committees, going into the schools. One of the things I really enjoyed about my time on the board was the graduation, high school graduation. What an absolute energy builder when you see the high school kids coming across the stage and you're shaking their hand and giving them the diploma, and you know they're starting off in their life. That was so exciting. I really enjoyed that part of it. But there are so many other things in the elementary school, like driving school bus. I got to see the whole range of from the graduation. Now I had a little girl, kindergartner, get on the bus and she says, "I'm so glad you're driving the bus, school bus driver. I'm so glad, I love school." And I was just like, oh my gosh, this is killing me. But she is, you know, that's just one person. I get all the age groups from elementary school to high school. You know, it's fun dealing with that. You know, and everything that you do, there's always 1 or 2% that you got to kind of do a little bit more with, or explain a little bit more, or be a little more patient with, and it's just fun. I'm at a point in my life where I've had quite a bit of experience with team building, you know, all of the things that it takes to be comfortable in who you are in front of the group. And so I'm really looking forward to the opportunity to be a part of this district.
Well, I'm gonna have to ditto all of that. And I'm gonna add to a school board is also a representation of the community. And that to me means a lot. In the 40% of the school district is Hispanic or Latino in nature. Being that there's a large amount of kids that are suffering with mental, with disabilities, with things that are very difficult to deal with, and sometimes teachers have a hard time dealing with. I believe that we need somebody who understands that, and I believe I have experience in that. Also, just a little bit more with regards to my background with the Idaho Food Bank. We set up a lot of locations to be able to deliver food to the needy, and Nampa was a big part of it. I don't know if you guys are aware of that. On the Saturdays, we helped with that to be able to deliver to the food. There's a lot of need out here, and we need people that understand that need. I love to serve. I love kids, and this is why I'm here. Unfortunately, I had some bad experiences with the school system because they didn't understand my children, and I understand that there's struggles out there, and I want to represent those families and those parents that have gone through that struggle. And I am an open book, and if you read my Facebook, you will see that I'm conservative in nature, and I have no qualms about it. But I am the type of conservative that really cares and understands children and their needs, and kids and their needs. The suicide rates, seriously. I know things have been done about it as a school board. And the superintendent, things have been set up about it, but it's still ongoing. There's something we're doing wrong. And I think that's part of you and me, if I'm elected or one of them, we need to prioritize that. One life is one life too many. There's something going on. We've seen it for a very long time. And we have to hit it in the nose and figure out what the heck is that. And we have to strategically find a solution that maybe out of the box. And that's what we gotta, we represent the people.
Move on to it. I think the next question probably seems.
I don't want them.
Actually, we'll go.
We're going to go in the middle. Okay.
What are the current challenges facing education in the school boards?
Well, in my experience, programs are continually changing. So it's a continuous evaluation of the programs that we have and what's the best way to go look at that. So you have, a lot of times it's not the whole program that's a problem, it's little pieces of that program. Part of my experience was process improvement in the area where I work. So it was a continuously look at the programs that we had and then map them out and see what they look like. And once you get a real visual of the things that you're doing and how you're doing that, then you get a better perspective on what's not working or what piece we need to go evaluate another part of that to improve that to make the whole system better. So a lot of times it's not the whole program that needs to be changed, it's just little pieces of it. And I think a lot of the decisions that we make here, if you go and try and do the whole thing, like a whole new book, you know, that's expensive. But if you go look at little pieces of that, then you can just make the changes and not the whole program change. So the cost is a little more cost effective, and the program grows and gets better. So I mean, I think that's probably, I was going to make it funny, but better.
Yes.
Which way?
Can you repeat the question, please?
Sure. What are the current challenges facing education in the school boards?
Oh, wow. Last one was the mask issue. That was a big one, right? It divided a lot of people. And, you know, to be able to make decisions that affect everybody. And you know, you can't please everybody, no matter what you decide. Even if you're right in the middle, satisfying both aspects, you're not going to please everybody because there's always extremes. That's one big challenge that we've had to deal with, or you guys have to deal with. Another challenge that I've seen and I've read about today was about lowering the standards for our students so that they could, because of COVID, so that we could, so that those students could just move on to college. I have a little bit of a problem with that. But maybe more research needs to be done on that part. But I believe that our students are very capable if we give them the opportunity. So lowering standards in their testing or having them not take tests to be able to graduate, I believe there needs to be different solutions to that and lowering the standards. Also another challenge is getting the community more involved, especially the large corporations. I believe that they have the money and the capability to give us necessary funding and opportunities for our children to be trained and to be able to be successful in this world. You know, kids there's something, sometimes by the age of 10 or by the age of 14, 15, they already know what they want to do. And we need to kind of help them with that. A lot of times, you know, I've seen how school functions in different countries, and they're more direct with their kids. You know, they know what they're going to do, and they push them towards their goal at a young age. But sometimes we're stuck with having them take classes that they will never use for the rest of their lives. While the important classes, like how do we even write a check? We don't write checks anymore, but some of us. How to keep track of our budget? You know, all those things that are important. How to have you know, how to improve your lives, how to have a path, set goals, to be able to move forward with your life, you know, all those little things that need to be learned. But I'm going off subject, I think, so I apologize.
So that's a loaded question. And extremely vague. But I think it's all about competing interests. Everybody has an interest. The community, local community, the state, the federal government. It's a layer of competing interests, not to mention all the micro competing interests within the districts. And really it's managing all of those interests in a way that everybody's happy, except for they'll never be happy, okay? So it's trying to find that balance, trying to strike that balance between what's good for the students, what's good for keeping teachers. I'm telling you, in education, I'm kind of piped into a larger network of teachers, and it's scary. The attrition rate, the exit rate of teachers leaving teacher preparation programs, it's coming, and it's bad. So it's keeping, it's retaining, it's incentivizing those teachers to stay. It's developing leaders that are going to fill those spots to lead our schools. Strong leadership is absolutely needed. That can make the board's job a whole lot easier when you have good leadership in the district. But again, with those competing interests, everybody wants a piece of the budget, and there's only so much budget to go around. There's only so much resource. I think it's really important as a board to consider where those resources are going to be best spent, where they're going to be the most benefit, and having those discussions to rein in those programs, those initiatives that may not be paying dividends. So yeah, it's a loaded question. There's a lot going on in education today. There's a microscope on all of you and what you're doing. And I think that the board needs to be very diligent in what they do. Everything needs to be defensible. And it needs to be within the realm of reality. I'm not an activist. I would be coming into the board as a player in that, and I would hope that my breadth of experience that I've been fortunate enough to participate in over the years can add to that board. I feel like I got a little off topic, but it's a very general question, so I'm sorry about that.
That's okay, thank you.
Okay, thanks. We'll hand it back over to them. Okay, third question. Do board members or the board have a role in the day-to-day operations of the district? And can you support a board decision that you are not in favor of? And I know that that sentence ended in a preposition, so I apologize to all the teachers out there.
Okay, you asked two questions.
So the question, it's a two-part question. Do board members or the board have a role in the day-to-day operation of the district? And can you support a board decision that you may not be in favor?
Anything that can affect the kids positively in any shape or form, we need to have a say. And that may be in the day-to-day operations of the district. Now, the second question, repeat that again.
Second question is, can you support, the second part of the question is, can you support a board decision that you are not in favor of?
Well, at the end of the day, the decision is the decision. But I think as long as people were represented, that's what matters. Also depends. You know, sometimes there may be things that go against what we consider to be what the community stands for. And when we move to either too far to the right or too far to the left, then we're doing everybody a disfavor. And I will definitely fight for that and be against that. We have to find common ground.
Having taught for a lot of years, I don't want the board in my classroom. Simply put, I want the board to eliminate barriers that I have for teaching. The board should not, or I don't want to say should not, they should resist micromanaging teachers. And here's why. Because all of these teachers are professionals. I view teaching as a profession, okay? It's not a job, okay? These people are teaching because they were called to teach. So let's let them be professionals. Let's give them the tools that they need to be professionals, and let's trust them, okay? I think that we lack trust. There's never going to be 100% compliance with everything in the classroom. Teachers do the best they can with what's given to them. Would I support a decision by the board? Yes. If I'm in the minority, I'm in the minority, and I can tell you that we will have, or there is a high likelihood that we won't meet eye to eye, because my perspective is much different. I'm coming into it with experiences that you all didn't have, and you're all coming into it with experiences that I didn't have. But at the end of the day, we're a board, and we're going to come to a decision, and whether I like it or not, I'm going to be on board in making sure whatever policy was created is going to be met with fidelity, and I'm going to make it the best policy that we have, or that, I'm going to do my part. Let's put it that way. I don't think it looks good for optics when you have a board that's has some animus. It's not good. You can disagree. You can respectfully disagree, but you really need to have one voice. So again, with the teachers, I think the board's duty is to streamline policies and cobble together a vision with the community's input, with the teachers' input, with the students' input, with the administration's input. One of the big things that you're going to be doing here in the next 18 months is solidifying the superintendent role. Whether that's going to be our current interim superintendent, IS, okay, or picking somebody new. They're going to be executing whatever vision you come up with. But I don't think that should include micromanaging what the teachers do. That's why you hire the superintendent. That's their job. So I think that pick is going to be very, very important.
Well, I think there is a day-to-day kind of involvement in that when a program is initiated, the district needs help in implementation. So it is kind of up to us to help implement that program by giving the teachers the insight on what it is that we're trying to do, including them in the decisions that are being made, and come together as a group in a consensus. So as a day-to-day thing, we definitely get involved in some of the decisions that happen on a day-to-day, holding people accountable, what rules are in place and how we implement those. Those are the day-to-day things that we do, that school boards do. They stay involved. They're the liaison between the community and administration and the teachers. So they're involved in all of that in some shape or form. Maybe sometimes not in so much of a decision, but in an opinion, but in helping one side or the other to see what the pathway forward is, to help make sure that everybody understands why and how and when we're going to implement, and the reasons behind all that. Now, it's a team effort. It is all of us working together. our part as a school board would be to make sure the community mindset is evaluated and looked at, and we represent them. But we're also helping the administration to apply whatever it is that we're moving forward with. So it is a team effort and a consensus from all of us on what's the best way forward. So, and the second part was,
Can you support a board decision that you're not in favor of?
yeah, well, absolutely. I'm hoping to see some team building events between the school board. I know that Chrissy has been very involved in some of that. And so on the last board that I was involved with, there were some team building events. And what that does is it helps see a board member not only as a co-board member, but more personally, so that you have a little more respect for that person. You have a little more understanding of the perspective that they come from, what their mindset might be in the decision. So as a board member, you have one piece of 5 minds on here. So you need to come together with the decisions that are made and speak with one voice. I think that's the kind of the more important part of what we do on boards, is to make sure that the consensus that we have, either not sure if I agree with that, then the discussion happens, right? And you understand why that decision is being made and how it's being made, and then come together, because it is important that as a board member, you could take that back to your community members and explain to them why that decision was made and how it was made. It wasn't made on a split second. It was evaluated. Sometimes, sometimes there's a time when you pull in a few community members and you have discussion about what's going to happen and where we're going to go. Make sure we're headed the same direction, just like a budget committee or just like any program evaluation or anything. So in some cases where you have a big decision to make, maybe it is bring in a few community members that are involved in that or want to be involved, and let's hear what they have to say, and then come together and say, yeah, here's the best direction to go. This is going to be the path that we're going to follow. And it may be popular, it may not be popular, but as long as it's been thoroughly evaluated and we've got the data to back up the decisions that's being made, that's what you got to go with. So yeah, I can work with a board, and I will be a unified voice in a board's decision.
I think you just hold on to that for the next question.
Okay.
I feel like it's a little repetitive. Maybe we can move forward to that end just for a break,
Or,
because it's really like a similar question. So,
well, we have 9 questions. We can
So
take that
can I-
question out and just skip to 5.
okay, perfect. Question 5. Are you concerned with the next generation? Explain your answer.
Well, I can tell you from my experience, we went through some of this with the shipyard. So when you the new generation that's coming out really is not like my generation, where I did 30 years in one place. They're more of they want to grow and learn. So they want to move. They want more challenges in their life. And I think students are similar. So we have to be able to find the challenge and how we teach to make sure that the kids are inspired to want to learn, to want to move into those programs. So understanding the mindset of the next generation, and then making our programs fit what their vision is. And some of that is maybe talking to the students and bringing them in on some of the programs that we have. It's like we had before, we had a high school student on the board for comments and things on where we're headed and what we're doing. That was kind of valuable, for some of us older guys to be able to hear the young perspective on what it is we're doing and how we're doing that. So they were included in some of the things, not only the decisions that we have to make, but they were also tell us what was going on in the schools and the excitement and some of the things happening. But I do think that in order to make a decision about the programs that we implement, we do need that generation to come in and help us with that. So as we looked at hiring, we had to find ways to move people and challenge them within our program to help them not get bored after. So I think statistically, they found that after 3 years, employees at the shipyard would get tired of where they are, that new generation that came in. And they'd either quit or go find another job somewhere, or we could find another spot within the shipyard, work that they were interested in. So some of that is finding out what their interests are and then plugging them into those programs and helping them understand ways that they can benefit and be challenged in what they're doing.
Yeah, I'm definitely concerned. That's why I'm here. They're getting bombarded by all sides. They're getting bombarded on the federal level. Their state of mind, their mental health, because of everything that's been going on, has affected them. They're getting bombarded by how expensive it is to live out here. Families are getting pushed out. It's harder to afford things now for a lot of families. They're getting bombarded by the price of food, right? They don't eat good. They don't eat well. You can't expect them to do well at school. And I know everybody thinks teachers are perfect, but there's teachers out there that don't care. And I will tell you, I was the outcome of one of them. I got pushed aside many, many times by teachers who just wanted to push me aside because I didn't speak the language so well. I think everybody all around the board, families, teachers, even at the state level, we need to figure out how to protect our kids. So yeah, I am concerned. I'm concerned that they think that they don't have to work anymore, that they can make a life at McDonald's, and yeah, maybe you can. But a lot of them are giving up. Why? Because their parents are giving up. It's a fight for survival out there. Their world is the media and everything they hear, and it affects their mental health. And heck, I am concerned about that. Facebook and Instagram and all the things that are out there. Yeah, there's a lot of good out there, but it comes with a lot of bad things attached. Pornography is a killer. It's in every form, and I think we live in a time where a lot of parents just don't know what to do with their kids or how to teach them. And maybe we need to think about ways to include them a little better or help them learn how to be parents. Maybe we need to just sit down and talk to the kids face to face and see what the needs are. And I'm sure you guys are doing that. But still, there's some, I hear about I had a parent tell me about how their kid was thinking about or about suicide. So there's a program out there where they see counselors now. But it's almost like a 15-minute assembly line. And she was like, that didn't help him any. And I was like, wow. Maybe there's not enough funding. Is it funding the problem? Maybe there's just too many kids that need help, and they're running out of time. Maybe what is the problem? From where I'm at, I can't really see the whole picture. I'm just saying what I'm being presented. So I see all that. And I want to believe that I can do something about it. I will tell you, I'm the first one who will tell you that I don't have all the answers. And I don't need to have all the answers, but by gosh, I know where to look for answers. And that's what I'm here.
So as a father of the next generation currently in my house, I get a look at this daily, which is good and bad. But it's easy to get distracted with everything that's happening. Social media. The way that these kids are communicating is, I feel old, but I'm not old, because they're communicating at a pace that I can't even keep up with. And it's really easy to say all of these external factors are influencing it, which they are, and that bleeds into the schools. I think that if you talk to folks that are in the schools, there's discipline problems. There are problems with basic skills. And I think a lot of that has to do with the COVID break. I think it's out there that my wife is a second grade teacher, and she's teaching kids that haven't been in a proper classroom ever. And that's something. And so we're dealing with huge learning gaps, almost insurmountable. And if you're English as a second language, that's even tougher. So I think that we need to focus on the things that we can deal with at the school. And we're continually asked to do more and more and more. And for good cause, because we're the people that see those kids on a daily basis. We're that caring adult in the building. And that's building them up and showing them they have self-worth. I think that if you talk to kids now, which I try to with a teenager, sometimes it doesn't always go so well. But they have this diminished value of themselves. And they don't see themselves as being successful in the world as it is. We have ESL, or not ESL, but we have social and emotional learning. We have those initiatives, those help. But I think that what we can control is creating a climate of caring in our schools. And telling those kids over and over and over again, you have worth, you have value, and showing them the way forward. I think that they're almost paralyzed by how much choice they actually have. When I grew up, it was college. That's where you went. You went to college or you went to work. Well, now, it's not a straight line from A to B. It's A to C to G to F to B. And I don't think that we're doing a good enough job of telling them that there isn't just one way to function in society. There isn't one way that you're going to join this community. And that is partly bringing in, college and career readiness initiatives and programs. We do a good job with what we have. I think that can be expanded. I think that we can be that liaison between the schools and the students and the jobs. I would love to see more industry partners come in, because that's where you start to see those kids the light bulbs come on, the brightness in their face returns, because they actually see purpose. So I know I kind of go on a tangent here, and you can kind of see where my heart, my altruistic nature is as a teacher. But I am worried. I am worried that we are asked to do so much, and we have so much to do with these kids. So as a board, I think the board plays a role in that, in bringing in that community, bringing in that value, bringing those parents through the door. so that they can, influence those kids and be a positive, just a positive energy. And you folks have gone into schools. You walk into a school and you can feel immediately in the schools when it's there. You can feel it. It's just like, oh, the school has got it going on. And you can feel it from the staff to the administration to the students. Then you can walk into other schools, and I hope none of these schools are in the Nampa School District, but you can feel that there's something wrong. I think the board sets the tone. But again, back to the question, I think there's a number of things that we can look at, but ultimately it's showing that these kids have value.
I don't know where it goes.
It might be me.
Marco's gonna start this next question, and Mandy has number 6.
Excuse me, can I get a drink of water?
Sure.
I got my bottle of water.
I'll give you some.
Oh, I was just gonna say, take Marco's.
I'll give you a sip, I'll give you a shot.
And I left mine in the first time I left. it.
I don't mind.
One in
sharing
here
my
too.
I left it out. That's
We'll
all right.
grab one.
I think just gotta go get one.
Guess it's time for a water break.
Yeah.
That and fluorescent lights are like. Just a little too
Good.
much water.
We need water too.
Just a little bit dry. I'm sorry.
No, thank you. Thank you. Usually I bring water in too, but I've gotten accustomed to one being here.
Yeah, I did the same thing. This is the first time it's not here. But I didn't bring it.
We all look straight at Christmas.
Slow
Say one
sips.
word.
That's right. I just want to wet my throat.
Thank you, Greg. Thank you, sir.
I'm glad you guys all got one. No, that's all right.
I think Peter's been.
Yeah, I think he.
Oh, you should get one. No, Peter, I think Peter.
I think Peter.
I think that's a tease.
No?
Yeah,
Thank you.
Sorry,
That's a.
it's all right.
that's a great.
I should have-
My bad.
All right. So, no worries.
All right,
It's all good.
Oh, good.
so, yeah, Marco. What kind of relationship should the board have with its community, with its parents and families?
Wow. Well, the first thing you guys are already doing, that's called transparency. And I really, really appreciate that. I really haven't seen other districts be as open as you guys. And that needs to happen and continue to happen. Everything is intertwined. So our relationship with the community needs to be there. We need to be at the forefront of sending information and asking for feedback. We need to be at the forefront of having those relationships with that community, with the companies, with the big corporations that can help us. We need to not stop companies that want to help us. I know we have a lot of things that we need to fix and stuff, but I know for a fact that there's companies out there that are willing to help us, that have that necessary insurance and the expertise to do some of the work where it could save us some money. But I don't know what the legalities are that are stopping us, or is it just, I don't know. And I need to find that out. Our relationship is so crucial because our kids are going to be adults one day. And that will determine what type of community we have. They're going to be working in all those factories and all those companies. They're going to be having all those kids. And if we don't do our job like we need to, it's going to be a little more chaotic than what we want. So yeah, relationship, it's all intertwined. Everything needs to, we need to be able to send the information, receive the information, let everybody know what our needs are, and make sure that we let people that want to help. And I think that's what builds trust. That's what being, I was talking about teamwork. Well, it's a teamwork with the community. We work together. Can we do better? I'm asking, well, I don't want to ask you guys, but I think I'm throwing a question that you don't have to answer. can you do better with your relationship with that community? And if you think you can't, then I think you don't have a place in that board. We can always do better, and we can always find ways to improve our relationship.
So, yeah, it's one of the things that I talked about with one of the guys that came and spoke at the last meeting. He's in zone 2, and I think, Tracy, you asked him why, or you should put in for the zone 2 board applicant. And I went out and talked to him afterwards, and a big part of being a board member is bringing your zone of parents together. So I told him, I said, if I'm selected, the first thing, one of the things I want to do is to set up a meeting with the community that I represent. Let's talk about it. Let's find out what's going on. Let's be heard. Let's make sure it's all transparent, just like you guys are here. Be transparent in the zone in which I represent. Who am I and what am I doing here? I think most parents want to know that. Maybe somebody doesn't see the board meetings and doesn't hear about it, but I think it's my responsibility, or the responsibility of the person that's selected, to go out there and find out what they think, to go and have meetings. I'm not sure there's a huge cost in doing that, whether we can set it up at West Hills or Roosevelt Elementary or Napa High School or wherever. I think it's just coming up with that time and that date and saying, hey, bring your concerns to me and let's talk about what's going on in our community, in our schools. And let's see what we can do. And then I think it's my responsibility, or whichever is selected, come back to the board and represent that and say, here's what I heard. Here's what people are saying to me. And I think that makes for better decisions. I think it makes for a better community, all of that stuff. So I like the transparency, and that's and being able to talk to somebody, not being afraid, and making myself accessible to the people. Bringing them in, say, hey, let's go talk. If you want to go have coffee, let's go have coffee and talk about it. I'm not exactly sure we can do that as a board. I think is it more than 2? You got to have an open meeting rule or something. But I think as a single board talking to community, I think that's all okay. So that would be my plan coming into it, is to try and see if we can get more community involved. My previous experience, a lot of those people got on budget committees, got on different committees, and their involvement, that's about building a leader. It's about building the confidence to say, yeah, I've been in this district for a while. I've been involved in some different things. I think I can do that job, So I think it's just the beginnings, right? That's how you start.
So I want to echo that.
That's awesome.
That's good stuff. Schools are an open system, okay? A lot of times, I think parents in the community think that it's not that way. You send your kid there and it's hands off. I've gone into buildings before where it's felt like that.
Yeah.
We need to view them as assets. I just read an article earlier today. I do a lot of reading, okay? And there's initiatives all over the place with dads in schools wearing t-shirts. I'm a dad in the school. And just the sheer impact of a caring adult roaming the building, properly vetted, has tremendous impacts on kids. And I would invite anybody that's listening or in the audience, go have lunch with your kid. It'll change your life. Because you're there and they're just astounded that you're there. And they start to ask you questions, especially the elementary kids. That's the fun ones, right? Middle school, high school, yeah, it's here, right? But we need to view those as open systems. And part of that open system is being transparent and inviting parents in. Intentional invitations. And we do this with orchestra and with basketball events. I'm saying just in general. Just because of the way that our buildings are designed nowadays, you walk into the front entrance and you're met with, you know, a security apparatus, right? You have to be buzzed in and all these things. It's intimidating, I can tell you, especially for somebody that doesn't understand what that's for. I think the signage can even repel people from the buildings. You know, it should be welcoming. When you get parents involved, they become your biggest asset to inspire institutional change. Because once the public's on board with what you're doing, there's no stopping it. You've hit that critical mass and it's going to happen. It's all about cultivating that critical mass and making that happen. So I feel like I'm touching on your question, but there is always work to be done. But at the end of the day, every taxpayer is a stakeholder in every single one of our schools, and they belong as part of that process. And I wholeheartedly agree with you, Chairman Kirkman. I love it when parents come up here and talk. I love it when they come up here and they talk about, I love it when the wrestling team came. I love it when parents are coming up and talking about the good things that they're doing. And I'd like more parents to feel like they have a part in that process. So I'll stop there because I'll probably go off topic, but thank you for the question.
Hold on to that. You're in it. Tracy has the next question.
How would you describe a board member's leadership?
Number 7.
Oh. Sure. Yeah. How do you see effective communication between the board administration and the board and community patrons? Did you understand the
Yeah,
question?
communication, like best methods for communication, maybe.
I guess. I don't know. Yeah.
Well, it's
Go
tough.
with that.
Yeah, it's tough because, you know, really, Twitter and Facebook really aren't that great. They don't hit. You laugh,
No,
but you know, I've
so
looked at
true.
studies ad nauseum that show that they aren't effective mechanisms for communication.
Right.
And they get heavily distorted. It's a whole thing. Okay. Really, you know what, one of the most effective mechanisms is sending a note home, sending a letter in the mail. It is a great way of communicating. Now, should we not use Twitter and the Facebook and all that other stuff? Yes, we should use it because it's really no cost to us to do it, and it is a way to get that out there. I do feel like we don't do a great job of announcing things. There's oftentimes when I feel like I don't know things are happening until like the day of or the day before. I think that's a problem. And we're in this really weird situation where we don't have really an effective newsprint, but we don't have really a good electronic mechanism besides probably emails. So that's kind of where I would say it's, you know, all of the above strategy. And I think that the district is doing that. I do wish that we did things, we announced things a little bit more in advance, you know, as things come up. And that is a tough question. It really is. But we can't stop. We have to get that information out there. And I would really also lean really heavy on school administrators. They know their population. They know what works in their population. And they're a really good mouthpiece to distribute that information. So oftentimes, if it comes from the district level, it's sort of glaze over, that's all district stuff. But when it's coming from a principal they know and have met, it tends to be more effective.
Go ahead.
I'm I understand the new, Facebook, Twitter, and all that kind of stuff. I like the face-to-face. I like to be able to see community conversation. You can get a better sense of what that person's saying and maybe a little heart behind what they say. You don't get that when you do an email or you sometimes it loses that the personal, what you're really trying to say. I realize that it's a part of our community and that's the way we do business. But maybe we should keep the comments. So the other part of that is that it's easy for somebody to make a comment anonymously kind of and not have to take responsibility for that comment when you do Twitter and Facebook and some of that, where it's a little bit harder in a community meeting when they say it, you get to look them in the eye and say it. So I would say that it's better for us to have the community meetings, the roundtable discussions, and then the old school. I mean, it's the flyers. Send a flyer home if there's something that you need to get across to the parents. I think that's our key to understanding and being a part of the discussion. I don't know if there's a better way than the face-to-face, but we can absolutely do the emails and that type of stuff, but it doesn't seem as effective to me as the regular face-to-face.
Yeah, that's a really good question, and I think sometimes we got to think out of the box. I've been, if you send 100 emails to 100 people, there's a percent just not even going to open it. If you send flyers with kids, most likely half of them will be in the garbage before they even get home. If you, go to Facebook, I mean, how many people are logged into your Facebook account in the district? There's people that just don't care, they just live and whatever happens, happens. But I think we got to give everybody the opportunity and keep trying. I love the face-to-face meetings. I think that's very important, but I think we need to reach out in different methods. There's companies out there that have announcements that you can actually contact them, for example, Idaho Power, and they can put a little something about meetings in their bill. And maybe we can ask the Nampa City, when they send the bills to everyone, to add a little something about this coming meeting. We got to think out of the box. No matter what we do, we're not going to reach 100%, but we just got to do our best to reach as many as possible. And even as we do that, a lot of people are just not going to want to come in anyways. But it is our duty to try and to just be a little bit thoughtful, not about methods that have already been used, but about new methods that could create new opportunities.
Okay, thank you. Next question is Lonnie Starks. And it is, how would you describe a board member's leadership role in relation to the community and the administration?
Well, that's the duty of the board, right? It's liaison between the community and the administration. That's I think the big part of what we're asked to do. That's why we're elected. And then we bring the voice of the community to keep the administration and everybody kind of on the same page as what the expectation is for a kid's education, what it is we're looking for. I would also say the community meetings, like I said, zone member, involving the parents and then relaying that information onto the administration or in an open session. What I heard, what they want, what's going on, what's in the minds of the parents in the community. Of course, we're all, as board members, you're flooded with the data, right? And due to education, absentees, all of the things that what the administration is doing, all of that stuff is a part of what you guys what board members receive, and you filter through that information to try and make a good decision with what's coming out, or relay that information to the parents in the community where you're representing. So that's the connection. That's what I think if you put in words, the duty of a board member is absolutely that liaison between the community and administration. And try to keep everybody on the same page, what our expectations are, and then help, because it's difficult to build programs. But the superintendent is the guy we hired to help us with those decisions. So hopefully you get somebody with a high level of education and can filter through some of the data that comes his way and through the teachers to help make the best decision. So you say just the community and administration, but I think the teachers are a big part of that too, helping them to understand what the direction is that we're going and why. We know that the teachers union is very strong in schools, and that there's a good reason for that, because we need to help them understand and help us understand why it's going this direction, why we teach this way, or what's the education level of the teachers that are involved, and are they keeping up with their helping them further their education and update their credentials as they go through to make sure we're getting the best education put out to the kids. So yeah, long-winded, but
I mean,
Can you repeat the question? Thank you.
how would you describe a board member's leadership role in relation to the community and the administration?
So is that board members as in a group or one
As
specific?
one specific, as your role as a board member.
Well, the role
Your
of the
leadership.
board, yep, the role of the board again is to set the guardrails, right? To set the vision, to say, this is our tolerance for operation, right? So these are the values of the community. These are the values of the teacher, these teachers, these are the values of the administration. And you set a vision within those guardrails. The superintendent executes that. So that's a cooperative agreement. Does board vision change? Yes, it does. Elections matter. And that's what happens. But the administration, when you say that, I'm thinking superintendency and the district office. As a board, you really need to communicate that vision and have fidelity to that vision. It needs to be realistic, and it needs to be based from the feedback that you're going to get from the community. You're going to go through this process. Whether you stick with the current superintendent or somebody new, there's going to be an exciting time. I've gone through it twice. One went really well, one didn't go so well. But really what it boils down to is exactly what Lonnie was talking about, is that there has to be this synergy happening between these two positions, and there has to be open and honest dialogue. Once there's just a seed of mistrust, that's just going to lead to resentment and a dysfunctional board. We've been through too much trauma as a district, not only with COVID, but with, I'm even thinking back to the whole technological breakdown we had just a couple of years ago, that preceded the whole COVID. This district has been through a lot of trauma. And so if I can put this into like a perspective of how this board needs to operate with the administration, it's that we need to start building trust. I think that the community is still filling out this board. They're nervous. There's a little bit of anxiety for sure. But my hope is that through this next few months or even years, that trust comes back. And really that's what it comes down to, is trust and respect. But ultimately, the board controls the narrative. Superintendency and the district office, they're the ones that are going to have to execute that plan. So in there was the answer.
Okay, sorry, repeat the question.
Sure.
No, so you don't have to repeat it.
It was just so good.
My leadership role with regards to the administration in the community, right? Well, it's not just sitting in there and talking about things. It's going to the community and actually representing. It's going out to the schools and actually taking part of what they're doing. It's understanding where the teachers are coming from by talking with them, talking with the principals, talking with the parents, talking with, one of the things that just comes to mind is our relationship with the city council of Nampa. What they do affects us. Or do we meet with them? I don't know. I hope we do. Because they need to know that some of the decisions that they make can pose a real problem to our community with regards to our children, and with regards to some of the parents that we have. We can't treat ourselves too separate from each other because we're all part of the same team. And I hope that we can have some type of a meeting, at least once or twice a year, where we can come into terms with our goals and our visions and hopefully align something. That's leadership. To be able to look at all those aspects of the community and to bring something from each one of them. And then come here and say, okay, now I'm ready to represent because I know what I'm talking about. I know what people want. And I represent the people. I represent the kids. I know what they need. That's the leadership style that I want to have.
Thank you. Okay, we have one last question, and Marco, you want to start us off? Trustee Taylor's going.
Who should set the rules governing board procedures, methods, and behavior, and who should enforce them? One more time.
No. Can I pass on this one until it comes back to you?
No, let's just go ahead.
Oh, you're good. Okay. Okay, it is tricky because there's a we have to understand that the community picked, elected this board for a reason. And with their feedback, I believe we can set the rules that governs us. But we have to be able to be, there's enough different minds to be able to do that. And something that I bring to the table is it's a little bit of a devil's advocate. I question, because you tell me one thing, and even though it makes sense to me, I'm going to question it to know why and just dig in a little deeper. I believe that we have to really understand our decisions and how it impacts every one of the members of our school district, all the kids. So, yeah, we need to have that type of mentality that where I got lost with the, there was 2 questions in there, right?
Yep. Who should set the rules governing board procedures, methods, and behavior, and who should enforce them?
Well, we have a group of people here that I don't know how it works. I've never been on a board before. I answer to boards, but I believe that we have an attorney that works with us, and we have a person who's all wise sitting in there that understands what we can or we can't do. We have a superintendent that's very smart. I think that we can, we have the ability to enforce the rules ourselves, but at the same time, we have to be able to, I always go back to the will of the people, understand what it is that that they're needing, that they're wanting, how it is that we want to represent them, and how it is that we want to enforce things. But ultimately, I think we are, there's nothing wrong because we have been elected to be able to enforce, and if we need to do something that's, drastic, we need to take a vote on it and do it ourselves. Because we're all grown ups and we can do it.
So the last board I was on, they had, we went by Robert's Rules of Order, which is a legislative guidance for, I think, a lot of legislative boards and procedures. So it's pretty strict. It's been used for probably 100 years. So it's something that's been well established, but I understand the reasoning behind some of the guidance that's been established here in Idaho. I read through the book briefly. I don't, didn't memorize anything. But I felt like the guidance that it listed was absolutely in line with that Robert's Rules. And it's probably been something that's been established for a long time here in Idaho. I don't know how long it's been here, but the school, pardon me? What's that?
That's all right, go ahead, just keep going.
So I believe that those are guidelines to make sure that we are doing the right things legislatively, and we're not going outside of the law. We have a lawyer like you consulted with a couple of times in the last meeting, which is absolutely the right thing to do, because I don't think any of us are lawyers. So it makes it kind of tough to understand all the little parts of the law that come out. You have some extra benefit in Chrissy and her experience with the Idaho State School Board Association. I had the opportunity to go to a couple of statewide school board meetings, where they have all the school boards come together. Some pieces of it was not anything that applied to us, but there was a lot of to gain. They had some different parts of what it is to be a board member and how you do that that were valuable, like the NCAA, some different parts of the district's responsibilities and how we maintain consistency among all school boards. I mean, the reality is this is a new school board, but school boards have been around a long time. So there's no reason to reinvent school boards. There's enough information out there that will help us help school board come together with what's the right pathway forward as a school board. But I think you have all the tools in place with the legislative pamphlet on the rules of how to run a meeting, lawyers present when you have to make some difficult decisions, or you consult them when that happens to make sure that we're following laws. And then you have some experienced clerk that helps you in manage the agendas and what's the proper thing to do and motions and how we get through that, making sure that we are following the law, because a lot of times the decisions we make are very important decisions that have to be by the law. I mean, they can't be just made up. Oh, you know what? This time I think I'm going to go this way, and the next time I'm going to go this way. I think you have some guidance. I think you have to stay within a certain parameters on decisions that are made and how you get there. Just like you can't have two board members meeting outside. There's a reason behind some of that stuff to make sure that we're all transparent in the decisions that we make and how we make them. So.
To kind of dovetail into that, there's law and precedent, right? I mean, there's laws that are non-negotiables, and those are set by the legislatures. We have to follow those. But we also have precedent, you know, what's been done before. And I think that gets carried over when you have retaining members. And that's why, you know, we stagger elections, is for that very purpose. I do think that in large part, it comes down to self-discipline and setting norms. I too have never really been on a formal board. However, been to lots of different board members, boards with lots of different members. As those change, sometimes norms migrate. There's nuances in there. This is how we're going to operate. You know, sometimes there's a new chairman that comes in that likes to do things a certain way. And those are just those little things that can happen. But really, everything needs to be based off of law, board policy, and precedent. You know, stop beating that dead horse. Sounds like you guys get a.
Oh, I just thinking I forgot to give who enforces that.
Oh,
Sorry.
I did it for you. To a large degree, you've got to have self-discipline. I mean, I would hope that there's enough of a positive relationship that one board member could correct another board member, you know, politely, cordially. Sometimes that doesn't always happen that way, but I think you do have some important backups. I think legal is, from my experience in listening to him, he's wise. I think that you have a board clerk that is wise to those policies, those norms. And I think that's a benefit, especially to a new board. But ultimately, I think that you have got to have that self-discipline to regulate yourself, even in the face of challenging community members. You've got to keep your composure. And again, I'm going to repeat this, speaking as one voice. I think that eliminates quite a few problems if you're all synchronous. So all in there, all of that.
All right. Thanks, gentlemen. Get your responses. Very, very informative.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
So we are still on 3, agenda item 3. In the, do we need to make a motion to change that if we want to now entertain
No, but
Tracy's?
if we just go to the action item, you can do your discussion and your motion if you want to.
So the action item is an appointment though of zone 2.
Or tabling it. I
Okay,
wrote down
so
the
that's what-
motion, yeah.
So do you want to do discussion now or at the next meeting? Discussion now and then do the appointment next meeting, or go ahead.
Well, I would like to let the community make comments about what they watched today, since nobody's making comments today, and then make the decision on that same day next week.
Okay.
I really like that idea. It's becoming our norm to really hear from the community. And one of the things that I really love is that it's a different perspective watching afar versus here in person. I really do like hearing from them. I personally would also like some time to digest. All 3 candidates did really, really well. They all had, you know, a lot to say. So I like the idea of digesting and then also taking public comment as well.
Yeah, I actually completely agree and would like time to digest a little bit and definitely love hearing from the community. I just want to make sure the three know that they're invited and welcome for our upcoming meetings between, if something should happen between now and then, to stay informed and be prepared in the process. And would kind of just hope if something should come up sooner before that or whatever, that we would invite them
So,
so they could be a part to see what's happening and
Love that.
things like that.
I love that.
yeah, I do. I'm always open to having
Yeah.
community participate as much as possible. And I think that's a fair assessment. So,
And I think we're within our timeline window very much. So, yeah, so that's,
So it was still motioned and seconded, correct?
so what is the motion?
The motion I had wrote down was, if you guys want to entertain the motion that was discussed, was motion by trustee Pearson to table until March 14th, so the community has the opportunity to have input. And seconded by Simpson.
Okay, so it's been motioned and seconded. We discussed a little bit. Is there any more discussion on that motion? Okay, all in favor? Aye. Any opposed to that? Motion carries. That item will be tabled to March 14th meeting, a regular board meeting. It almost seems like we have less regular board meetings.
I do want to thank you guys one more time. You guys did great, just great. And I really appreciated how well you guys did with the format and how transparent it was. It was awesome.
Thank you.
Okay, so item 5 on the agenda. I need a motion to, you gotta read it.
Okay, I'm up.
done.
I motion that we move into executive session to consider the evaluation, dismissal, or disciplining of, or to hear complaints or charges brought against a public officer, employee, staff member, or individual agent of public school student. B, to consider records that are exempt from disclosure as provided in Chapter 1, Title 74, Idaho Code, and C, to communicate with legal counsel for the public agency to discuss the legal ramifications of and legal options for pending litigation or controversies yet not yet being litigated but imminently likely to be litigated. The mere presence of legal counsel at the executive session does not satisfy this requirement.
Second.
Okay, it's been motion and seconded in executive session.
Chairman
Oh.
Kirkman, I'm sorry, roll call vote.
Yeah, roll call vote.
Chairman Kirkman,
Aye.
Vice Chairman Pearson,
Aye.
Trustee Simpson,
I
Trustee Taylor,
Aye.
Okay, and we'll just go right back here. All right, we're back in session and turn my mic on.
I move
Oh,
that,
Peter ready?
I move that we place employee 2022-0214-01 on unpaid administrative leave.
I second.
It's been motion and second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. And we are adjourned at 9:06 PM.